3,000 years ago, in southern Mexico, an unprecedented culture flourished in the jungle near the Gulf Coast. Rivers meandering through the hot tropical lowlands were the region's lifeblood. These waterways for transportation and trade encouraged agriculture. Annual floods left deposits of fertile soil, ideal for growing maize, squash, and beans. More than 2,000 years later, the Aztecs called this region Olmec, or rubber country, for its many rubber trees. The name of the people who dwelled there in antiquity is lost, but they have become known as Olmec. To express their political and religious beliefs, the ancient Olmec invented imagery of spellbinding power. They carved monumental sculptures from volcanic rock without metal tools, using hammers and chisels made of stone. They transported massive blocks of basalt, weighing up to 20 tons, across miles of territory without benefit of the wheel. They built the first pyramid in the Americas, rising 100 feet and made of more than 3.5 million cubic feet of hard-packed earth. And they fashioned delicate and often deeply expressive works of art in ceramic, serpentine, and jade. The result was the most sophisticated artistic style yet created in the Americas. The style developed throughout Mesoamerica, which extends from central Mexico to present-day Costa Rica. The most striking Olmec achievements have been found in southern Mexico, at sites such as San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Zapotes near the Gulf Coast, and Tlatilco and Chalcatzingo in the highlands. In the 18th and 19th centuries, finely carved jades from Mesoamerica began to appear in museums and private collections. No one knew what to make of them. Some were labeled Chinese, others Maya or Aztec. In 1862, a farmer's discovery of a huge stone head at Tres Zapotes triggered speculation that it had been carved by Africans who had emigrated to the Americas.
Footing it for 2 hours over swampland is the last stage of our trip, to the spot where we hope to find the big stone heads of which we have heard exciting rumors.
Archaeologist Matthew Sterling set out in 1939 to unravel the mystery of these strange works of art, which by then were being called Olmec. Sponsored by the Smithsonian Institution and the National Geographic Society, he traveled with his wife Marion to Mexico, launching the excavations on the southern Gulf Coast. No one knew how old the Olmec culture was. Many thought it was contemporary or later than the classic Maya, who flourished from 300 to 900 AD.
And here is our objective, Tres Zapotes, our source of supplies and of labor during the first 2 seasons of archaeological work here in the southern part of the state of Veracruz.
We'd only been working at Tres Zapotes about 3 weeks, and Matt decided he wanted to dig out a big stone in front of the largest mound at the site. So he took 10 men and went out to dig it up.
One of the workmen told me of having encountered with his whole bit of solid stone that was projecting above the ground.
But Matt had stubbed his toe on a rock not too far away, and while he was there, he thought he might just as well dig that up too. And much to his surprise, it turned out to be a broken stela with a jaguar mask on the front.
So we excavated this and found this bar and dot date running across the back of the monument. We've deciphered it and found that it carried a date of November the 4th, 31 BC.
That at the time, 31 BC was the earliest dated monument in the New World.
Sterling's reading of the date as 31 BC would mean that this calendar system predated the classic Maya by some 300 years.
Well, this caused a lot of consternation among the Mayanists. Eric Thompson, the famous Maya epigrapher, wrote a paper about it. And he wouldn't speak to us at meetings.
But Mexican artist and scholar Miguel Covarrubias and the anthropologist Alfonso Caso shared Sterling's view.
It was at that time that Alfonso Caso announced that he considered the Olmec the mother culture of Mesoamerica. And at that time, it was put the Olmec on the map because he was the outstanding Mexican anthropologist.
In fact, the origins of Olmec art turned out to be far older than even Covarrubias, Caso, and Sterling imagined. Radiocarbon dating at San Lorenzo and other Olmec sites has pushed back the beginning of Olmec culture by more than a millennium, to circa 1200 BC.
Now we're off for the second phase of our explorations.
Sterling began digging at San Lorenzo in 1946 with the archaeologist Philip Drucker.
And sure enough, there was a big head, and a beautifully carved big head, much finer, more handsome than the ones at Aventa.
Sterling proposed that these enigmatic sculptures were portraits of prominent individuals in Olmec society. Most of the vast site of San Lorenzo remains to be explored.
We now know that the site covers more than 300 hectares, making it the largest and the most complex site in Mesoamerica during the early pre-classic or the early formative period.
The elite resided on the huge man-made plateau that dominates the site. One house, called the Red Palace, had stone columns and steps and was supplied with water channeled from reservoirs. Ordinary people may have lived in the palm-thatched houses like some still found there today. The population included artisans skilled in specialized crafts.
We have a lot of evidence for workshop activity here. There are areas where they worked obsidian, green stone, and even monuments were worked here. The Olmec stored previously made stone monuments and then reworked them or recycled them into another shape with another iconography. We found the 10th, the newest colossal head at San Lorenzo last year. It was found in the ravine, a ravine called the Barranca de los Hochi, where 3 other colossal heads have been found. Across the top of the headdress, a 3-digited hand or claw descends. This insignia probably has something to do with the name of the person represented. Each colossal head is a portrait of a ruler from Olmec times. Each face is very different from all the other faces, and the expressions are different. This one has a very benign expression. The colossal head was transported to the community museum of Tenochtitlan, and so now with the help of the town, we're building a better home for all of the sculpture that we have housed there.
These portraits are carved of stone in a region where stone is not naturally available. Enormous blocks of basalt, weighing many tons apiece, were carried without beasts of burden some 60 miles from distant mountains. The magnitude of this task is clear evidence of the ruler's power and authority over a large and efficient labor force. Olmec culture at San Lorenzo declined around 900 BC. Perhaps because of environmental change, warfare, or competition from other sites. Whatever the cause, the demise of San Lorenzo coincided with the rise of another Olmec center, La Venta. Located near the Gulf Coast, on high ground surrounded in ancient times by swamps and rivers, La Venta flourished from about 900 to 400 BC. This hill is actually a man-made mountain of earth, packed into the shape of a pyramid. The pyramid is the focus of a whole complex of smaller earthen mounds, carefully constructed on a north-south axis to form La Venta's political and religious center. Excavations in the area to the north of the pyramid, led first by Sterling in the 40s and later in the 1950s by Philip Drucker and Robert Heiser, revealed a ceremonial courtyard enclosed by hundreds of basalt columns, each weighing close to 1 ton. A burial mound at the north side of the court contained a basalt tomb for 2 high-ranking children. Their bones had disintegrated, but their ornaments remained. Buried beneath 8 layers of clay, each of a different color, and several more layers of adobe blocks, was a mosaic pavement measuring 15 by 20 feet. Its green serpentine stones form the stylized face of a supernatural being. The mosaic rested on top of 28 layers of rough stones, more than 1,000 tons worth, brought 150 miles from the mountains near the Pacific coast. This was an enormous feat, and 3 such mosaics were found at the site. A few feet beneath the ceremonial court, a cache of small, typically Olmec figures appeared, with almond-shaped eyes and bald, elongated heads. As a mark of beauty or status, the skulls of some individuals were deformed in early childhood when the bones were still soft. Made of jade, serpentine, and granite, these figures seem to enact a ritual now forgotten. These carefully buried works of art may be offerings to spirits dwelling deep within the earth. Their hidden presence may have charged the sacred precinct with spiritual energy. The Olmec world was alive with unseen spirits that controlled all natural phenomena. To represent the power of these mysterious forces, Olmec artists combined features of the most fearsome predators of the jungle, creating hybrid images of awe-inspiring supernatural beings. Spiritual leaders or shamans linked humans to the forces controlling the universe. Peoples believed that the shamans could slip into deep trances and magically transform themselves into the shape of a jaguar. Transported by this animal spirit, they roamed the cosmos, gaining knowledge that allowed them to ensure rich harvests, heal the sick, and protect the community. Rulers also claimed the power to mediate between human and spiritual realms. Some are shown cradling a supernatural infant, part human, part jaguar, who may have been their link to the spiritual world. Similar figures appear on sculptures found at La Venta, that Sterling assumed to be altars. But decades later, a clue to their true function was discovered far from the coast at the mountainous site of Oxtotitlan. Its name means place of caves, which ancient Mesoamericans regarded as sacred entrances to the underworld, the mythic realm of ancestral and supernatural spirits. A rock painting above the cave mouth shows a ruler wearing a bird mask and feathered costume. His elaborate throne depicts a monstrous supernatural face, similar to those on the so-called altars of La Venta, indicating that they too were thrones. Previous research proposed that La Venta was exclusively a site where priests resided and conducted ritual activities. However, new research has shown that it was a more complex urban area.
With the new findings, we find a much more dense population, not only on the site, on the ancient city, but also in the outlying lowland areas.
Dr. Gonzalez has also been studying the Central Pyramid to determine how this sacred mountain was made.
This pyramid is for this time period around 400 BC. It's probably the largest pyramid in the Olmec world at that time. The Olmec seem to have, well, packed earth and then held it in place by rows of limestone.
Electronic sounding devices have detected a dense rectangular object, possibly a tomb close to the summit. Future excavations may reveal that this man-made mountain was a burial mound for an Olmec ruler. The extraordinary achievements at La Venta and San Lorenzo were long thought to be unique to the coastal lowlands. But ongoing excavations far from the coast indicate otherwise. In the shadow of the volcano Popocatépetl, in the Mexican highlands, lies Chalcatzingo, an ancient regional center at its height from around 700 to 500 BC.
Chalcatzingo is a unique site in the central Mexican highlands. It's the only site in the highlands with bas-relief carvings in the Olmec style. The ancient village of Chalcatzingo sat on a terraced hillside. These are large terraces, perhaps 100 meters by 100 meters each at the largest. Below the main terrace is a huge platform mound. This is a large rectangular platform over 70 meters long. Platform mounds are very special features. Unlike a pyramid, a platform can be considered to be a raised stage on which performances, rituals were carried out that could be viewed by the entire population. A large stone slab carved with an earth monster face, with a hollow mouth, sat on the northern edge of that platform mound, again where it was visible to the houses on all the terraces below. And I can almost imagine a ritual with people moving through that open mouth of that carving.
Higher up the volcanic slopes is a relief sculpture that the local people call El Rey, the king. Like the thrones at La Venta, it shows a figure seated within a cave.
Above the cave are 3 trilobed rain clouds. This is a fantastic rain and fertility scene up on the hillside. And it's placed right beside the major drainage of rainwater runoff from the hillside. The hillside carvings all seem to be rain petitions to ensure crop fertility for the people below. On the far west of the site, there's one solitary monument, which we call the Flying Olmec. And when I first saw it, I noticed that the headdress on the flying person was very much like Monument 19 in La Venta. Not identical, but they were carved in the same way. So there is a connection in some of the art at Chalcatzingo with La Venta's art. The location of Chalcatzingo, with a huge series of valley systems coming together, sort of suggests that maybe Chalcatzingo functioned as a gateway city through which goods from across central Mexico and perhaps even western Mexico funneled into Chalcatzingo and then moved eastward towards the Gulf Coast.
In the Valley of Mexico, on the outskirts of Mexico City, archaeologists have excavated graves from about 900 BC containing clay figures and pottery of the Olmec style. Other Olmec objects have been found in the surrounding highlands and as far south as Honduras and Costa Rica. The wide distribution of Olmec works of art suggests that many centers participated in the development of this style. Distant villages were evidently linked through trade in cacao, white clay for pottery, obsidian, animal skins, and the most precious commodity of all, jade. Its nearest known source is in Guatemala. This vast trading network paved the way for the exchange of ideas as well as goods, and led to the emergence of a pan-Mesoamerican Olmec style. Miguel Covarrubias defined this new aesthetic. Olmec artists were mainly concerned with simplicity and sensual realism of form, with the human being made up of solid, ample masses. They delighted in the smooth, highly polished surfaces of their jades, broken occasionally by fine, incised lines. These lines are sharp and precise. This new style, vigorous and original, was perhaps the finest Olmec achievement. They created dynamic works of art with a strength and nobility never known before in the Americas. The Olmec legacy is still being explored, but Olmec works of art have been found at Maya and Aztec sites. Did later civilizations preserve Olmec jades simply for the value of this precious material? Or did they keep them as treasured relics from a culture that influenced their own? Only future excavations will tell. But major discoveries are being unearthed each year, bringing us closer to a fuller understanding of that extraordinary culture we call Olmec.